Here's a quick synopsis of the plot of the movie Midsommar. The main character, Dani, suffers from prolonged depression after her sister killed her parents and committed suicide. Her boyfriend, Christian, doesn't know what to do, and his friends, Mark, Jai, and Pelly, advise him to leave the girl. However, Christian continues to date Dani and support her in every possible way. To unwind a bit, the couple goes to a party with friends. The guys discuss a trip to Europe to a Swedish tribal community where Pell invited them to take a break from the hustle and bustle of the city and at the same time collect materials for their dissertations. Pell tells his friends that his family from the commune is organizing a crazy 9-day festival, a theatrical performance with rituals dedicated to the summer solstice. Returning home, Dani is angry with Christian because he says, does not know about the trip, so the guy decides to take her with him. The group of friends from the plane change to a car and go out of town. Pelly introduces the guys to her brother Ingemar and friends from London, Simon and Connie, after which they all treat themselves to dried gifts of the forest, hallucinogenic mushrooms and hang out in a meadow for a few hours. Dani catches bad trip, runs away, and then passes out. In the morning, the friends find her and then go deeper into the forest and come out on a huge meadow ground with a symbolic gate in the form of the sun. Behind them, several authentic buildings, a high wooden cross, vegetable gardens are visible, and calm, serene people in simple white clothes walk around the community. Ellie greets the head of the commune, her spiritual mentor, who is incredibly happy to see the guests and explains to them that the people here worship Mother Nature, her androgynous essence. Today they are preparing for the holiday, and the solemn ceremony will take place tomorrow. The friends approach the stage near the cross, where a woman announces the beginning of the feast in honor of the summer solstice, offers everyone a drink, then gives a lit torch into the hands of an old man and an old woman from the community. Young members of the commune start a cheerful round dance, and a group of guests watches this, sipping a local, obviously narcotic, brew. Christian and Josh join the dancing locals because they will write their dissertations on the topic of rituals and the Old Believer community. During the walk, the friends notice an unusually bright yellow triangular building at a distance from the main buildings. Pelly's brother, Ingemar, explains that this is their main sanctuary, but it is strictly forbidden to go there. The guests are brought to the place of overnight stay, a 2-story building resembling a barn, beautifully painted on the inside with drawings and patterns. Those members of the community who have not yet turned 36 live here. The fact is that in the commune, there is a clear gradation of 4 periods of a person's life, each 18 years long. Dani asks what happens after the last period, when the resident turns 72. To this, Pelly, as if in jest, runs his hand across his throat. The day of the first ceremony arrives. The members of the commune and the heroes sit down at the festive table, laid not far from the sanctuary. At the head of the table sit the old man and the old woman, who were given torches yesterday. After dinner, the old men are seated in a chair and carried to the cliff by the members of the community gathered below, as well as unsuspecting guests. In complete silence, they watch as the old woman, with her arms outstretched, jumps from a great height and crashes into the stone sacrificial altar. The old man follows her in exactly the same way, but for him the fall is not fatal. Then 4 members of the sect approach the agonizing body and finish off the man with a huge wooden hammer. An elderly sect member explains to the shot guys that this is a very ancient custom, and the old people have reached the end of their life cycle. They say that dying is a great joy for them. Everyone here will do this at 72 years old. Tearful Dani wants to urgently leave the community with bloody rituals, but Pelly, who turns out to be a skilled psychologist and manipulator, calms her down and persuades her to stay. At night, Josh sees how a young, rusty-haired sect member, Maya, puts something under the bed of the sleeping Christian, Dani's boyfriend. In the morning, he shows his find to Pelly and asks what it is. His friend replies that a love rune for a love spell is carved on the piece of wood. Then he tells Christian that he liked a young girl who has reached the age of consent. Suddenly, the friends' conversation is interrupted by the screams of an angry resident. It turns out that Mark, without knowing it, urinated on their sacred ancestral tree. A little later, Connie and her boyfriend decided to leave this terrible place. The girl is looking for Simon. However, one of the sectarians says that the guy has already left for the train station and is waiting for her there. Light. The cart is a truck. There are only 2 seats in it. Soon the driver will return and take her too. Connie does not believe in this legend because she could have gone in the back. However, she has no choice but to wait for transport because the guys left their cars far from the settlement and mobile communication is unavailable here. The elder shows Josh their sacred book with runes, which is constantly being supplemented. At the moment, it is written by the Oracle, a local disabled person from birth. Supposedly his consciousness is not clouded by reason. He is the product of purposeful incest. This is how sectarians create oracles for themselves for many years. At dinner, Danny looks for Connie, but one of the residents of the community cons the heroine, saying that he is a driver and took her to the train station to Simon. Suddenly, Christian takes a hair out of his mouth, which is very similar to the pubic hair. Meanwhile, a girl from the community who has been looking at him for a long time, comes up to Mark and takes him somewhere. At night, Jai, waiting for everyone to fall asleep, enters the forbidden building with a sacred book and quickly photographs the notes for his scientific work. Suddenly, he receives a strong blow to the head with a club, then his convulsing body is dragged away somewhere. At breakfast, Danny notices Mark and Josh are missing, but Christian says that there is no need to worry about the guys. One has a date, and the other is clearly busy looking for materials for his dissertation. Later, the head of the community announces the disappearance of the book and asks to return it to its place, putting forward Christian's unification, and that it is not a coincidence the simultaneous disappearance of the book and 2 guests. Before the start of the day's celebration, all the young girls, including Danny, are poured a special tea for the competition, a decoction of mushrooms. The dancers organize a circle dance around the cross and begin to dance until they drop. The winner, who remains on her feet, will be recognized as the Mayan Queen. Christian watches a competition of young girls, among whom is his beloved, a pretty sect member, clearly under the influence of substances, approaches him and offers to drink spring water with special properties, to which the hero agrees. Meanwhile, Danny wins the crazy dance competition and becomes the queen of the Maya. Joyful members of the community congratulate her, decorate her head with a crown of flowers, and then seat her at the head of the festive. Meanwhile, Christian is pretty drunk from the liquid he drank, so while his girlfriend is being driven in a carriage harnessed by sect members, he finds himself in a room full of naked women of all ages. On the floor lies a naked, rusty-haired Maya who happily accepts her first man. Danny hears lustful moans coming from a nearby building, looks through the keyhole, and sees her lover cheating on her and a crowd of naked sectarians, after which he falls into a mad hysteria. Meanwhile, Christian is released. He understands what he has done, so in shock, he immediately runs away from the house of debauchery. Running past one of the flower beds, the hero notices the leg of his missing friend Josh. The naked hero hides in the chicken coop, where he sees the hanging corpse of the supposedly departed Simon. The poor guys cut his back, took out his lungs, and spread them out like wings. Suddenly, one of the sectarians blows some pollen into Christian's face, after which he loses consciousness, and the dumb and immobilized hero comes to in a wooden chair on wheels. His beloved is sitting on a throne in the flowers in the middle of the stage. An old cult member announces an annual sacrifice in honor of the sun and the goddess of purification, for lives of strangers, for residents of the community, and the ninth victim must be chosen by the Mayan Queen. That is, Dai. The heroine is unable to forget and forgive the betrayal of her beloved, and condemns him to death. The cultists seat 6 corpses on straw bales inside the triangular sacred house, immobilize Christian, push him into the skin of a gutted bear, and then place him in the center. There are also 2 volunteers from the community, to whom the head of the ritual gives a special brew for courage to drink. The howling of crazy cultists. Danny watches with tears in her eyes as the fire destroys the building with her former lover. Then a crazy smile lights up her face